Good afternoon and welcome to Express News. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. Let's begin with the stories. On the second day of 2026 budget session, Prime Minister Narendra Modi emphasized that his government has moved beyond files to ensure last mile's delivery of welfare schemes directly to citizens. Prime Minister Modi lauded President Draupadi Murmu's address, saying it clearly reflected the aspirations of 140 crore citizens. He noted that President presented guiding points for all members of Parliament in simple, clear words. Lauding the free trade agreements, Prime Minister Modi said that the agreement with 27 countries will open up major opportunities for India's fishermen, farmers, youth and service sector professionals seeking global exposure. Prime Minister Modi also said that India-EU FTA is a significant step towards building a confident, competitive and productive India. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented the Economic Survey 2025-26 in the lower house of Parliament, that is the Lok Sabha, on Thursday. The Economic Survey has projected GDP growth in the range of 6.8 to 7.2% in 2026-27. The growth projection has taken into consideration cumulative impact of policy reforms over recent years that appear to have lifted the economy's medium-term growth potential closer to 7%. India's automobile exports surged, reflecting global acceptance of India-made vehicles. As per the Economic Survey, over 53 lakh units shipped in financial year 25 across segments, with double digits growth in H1 of financial year 26, 33% production rise over the decade, employing over 30 million and driving 15% of the GST. The survey highlights that agriculture and allied services are estimated to grow by 3.1% in financial year 26. Agricultural activity in the first half of financial year 26 was supported by favorable monsoon. The Economic Survey mentions that the industrial sector is showing signs of strength, with manufacturing growing by 8.4% in the first half of financial year 26, surpassing the financial 26 estimate of 7%. India has offered to provide all possible assistance in the reconstruction of Gaza. India's permanent representative to the United Nations, P. Harish, indicated this during an open debate at the UN Security Council. He stated that challenge of post-conflict reconstruction in Gaza is unprecedented. India has delivered about 135 metric tons of medicines and relief materials to Palestine over the past 2 years. India's permanent representative to the UN envoy said he highlighted meaningful bilateral and UN-partnered humanitarian contributions. Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar was cremated with full state honours at Baramati's Vidya Pratishthan ground on Thursday following his tragic death in a private plane crash. A project aimed at developing civil aviation infrastructure at Air Force Station Leh was inaugurated on Wednesday by Kavinder Gupta, Lieutenant Governor of the Union Territory of Ladakh, in presence of Air Marshal J.S. Mann, senior air staff officers and Western Air Command. India will host the second India-Arab Foreign Ministers meeting on 31st January. The meeting will be co-chaired by India and the UAE. Foreign ministers of other Arab League member states and Arab League Secretary General will be participating in this meet. This will be the first India-Arab FMM to be hosted by India in New Delhi and will see participation by all 22 Arab countries by foreign ministers, other ministers, Minister of State and other senior officials and Arab League. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar will visit Washington, D.C. on February 4th for talks with U.S. counterpart on Pax Silica. Pax Silica is a U.S.-led initiative designed to secure global supply chains for semiconductors, AI to reduce reliance on China for rare earth minerals. Beating Retreat 2026, concluding 77th Republic Day festivities, is set for Thursday at New Delhi's Vijay Chowk, with President Murmu, Vice President Radhakrishnan, Prime Minister Modi and ministers attending, and 30 performances by Tri-Services and CAPF bands. Prime Minister Modi posted on X saying that Beating Retreat ceremony marks end of Republic Day celebrations, showcasing India's rich military heritage and pride in dedicated armed forces. The Reserve Bank of India (RBI) signed a memorandum of understanding with European Securities and Markets Authority during the recent visit of President of European Council and President of European Commission to India. The Ministry of Finance stated that primary objective of the MOU is to enable formal recognition of the Clearing Corporation of India Limited and other RBI-regulated central counterparties by ESMA. In business developments, Indian benchmark indices ended higher for the third consecutive session at close. The Sensex was up 221.69 points or 0.27% to close at 82,566.37. And Nifty was up 76.15 points or 0.30% at 25,418.90. The Indian rupee ended lower at 91.95 per US dollar on Thursday. Brent crude oil topped $70 per barrel on Thursday for the first time since September as US President Trump ramped up geopolitical tensions by threatening military strikes on Iran. Global gold prices surged to new record highs, with spot gold climbing above $5,585 per ounce, rising by 3.05%, driven by weakening of US dollar, geopolitical uncertainties, strong safe haven demand amid economic volatility. Global silver prices surged to fresh records today, with spot silver climbing above $119 per ounce, fueled by weaker dollar and silver's outpacing gold rally. The US dollar weakened further today, with the DXY index dipping to around 96.10 to 96.20, down 0.3%, hitting four-year lows amid policy uncertainty. Fed rate hold signals flight to safe haven assets like gold and mixed treasury comments on dollar strengths. Global cryptocurrency markets dipped modestly, with Bitcoin trading around $88,000, down 1.2%, with Ethereum near $2,950, down 1.5%, as total market cap hovers at $3.07 trillion amid Fed rate stability and gold's outperformance. Asian markets traded mixed amid Fed rate stability and tech earnings focused on Hang Seng rising 0.5% to near 27,970, Nikkei edging up 0.03 to 0.12%, around 53,380, Kospi gaining 0.7 to 1%, while Shanghai was flat to slightly up, and some like Taiwan dipped. European markets edged higher today amid earnings focused and commodity strength, with Stoxx 600 up 0.2 to 0.35%, around 609 to 10, FTSE 100 gaining 0.3 to 0.6%, near 10,200, CSE 40 rising 0.6 to 0.9%, while DAX mixed to slightly lower, near 24,800 after Fed stability. Iran's foreign minister warned on Wednesday its forces would respond immediately and forcefully to any US military operation after President Donald Trump declared time was running out to avoid one, but did not rule out a new deal on Tehran's nuclear program. Turkey will offer to help resolve tensions between Washington and Tehran when Iran's top diplomat visits, a foreign ministry source said on Thursday, a day ahead of this visit. Meanwhile, the European Union is poised to include Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps on its list of terrorist organizations after France said on Wednesday it would now support the move. EU's foreign ministers are meeting in Brussels on Thursday due to sign off on new sanctions in response to a crackdown on protest that has seen thousands killed and thousands more arrested. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Wednesday secured a majority in parliament to pass his government's 2026 budget bill at first reading. Failure to pass this budget by March 31st would automatically trigger the dissolution of Netanyahu-led parliament. Elections would have to be held before the end of the current parliamentary term in November. EU top diplomat Kaja Kallas warned on Thursday that Ukraine was facing a humanitarian catastrophe as retaliatory Russian strikes cut far in frigid winter conditions. EU's Kallas said that despite US-led talks to end the conflict in Abu Dhabi, Russia was bombing Ukrainians, trying to bomb and freeze them to surrender. As US President Donald Trump eyes Greenland as strategic buy amid Arctic tensions, the Greenland Inuit emphasized on shared land ownership, saying no one owns the Arctic, as per indigenous views surviving centuries of colonization, with 90% of the 57,000 residents Inuit. Meanwhile, the United States on Thursday announced the resumption of food distribution in Somalia weeks after the destruction of a US-funded World Food Programme warehouse at Mogadishu's port. Venezuela's military and police on Wednesday pledged loyalty to interim President Delcy Rodriguez at the ceremony in Caracas, formally recognizing her as the commander-in-chief amid ongoing political tensions. Protesters marched on Wednesday to the South Texas Family Residential Center in Delray, Texas, demanding the release of Minnesota man and his young son held by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement amid wider criticism of family detention practices. Minnesota's Governor Tim Walz visited a memorial for Alex Petty, a U.S. citizen shot dead by federal agents, paying tribute and calling for accountability and withdrawal of federal forces amid mounting unrest in Minneapolis. Families and first responders gathered in Washington, D.C. to mark the first anniversary of a deadly mid-air collision over the Potomac River that killed all on board an American Airlines regional jet and a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter. Protesters from Peru's Generation Z movement clashed with police in Lima, demanding the resignation of interim President Jose Jerry over corruption scandal and dismissed rape charge. An internet blackout in Iran has left citizens cut off from family and friends abroad for weeks, with many, including expatriates in Greece, expressing fear for their loved ones amid ongoing anti-government protest and deadly crackdown. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said on Thursday that a rules-based global order is not dead, calling for a stronger NATO in Europe. While extending cooperation to the US, he emphasized that Europe will no longer be cowed by tariff threats. The Food Watch Association and 8 families filed a complaint with the Paris public prosecutor accusing infant formula manufacturers of delaying the recall of contaminated batches. Authorities are investigating 2 infant deaths allegedly linked to suspect milk. New malaria vaccines are helping Ghana move closer to eliminating child deaths from disease, which still claim nearly 500,000 young lives each year in Africa, though cuts in international aid threaten to reduce coverage. Residents of Lagos's waterfront communities in Nigeria protested forced evictions on Wednesday, marching to the government house to demand an end to demolitions that have left hundreds homeless. And we're heading for a short break. There's more coming up.
Tamil Nadu.
Open your mind to a whole new world. Explore mystic wonders of nature in the forests.
Welcome back. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. You're watching Express News on DD India. Let's resume. The IMD has issued yellow alert for Delhi on Thursday, with temperatures expected to plunge. Noida and Gurugram may see similar conditions, with light rains possible from February 1st. Himachal Pradesh's Manali is covered in fresh snow, delighting tourists who are eager to enjoy the winter landscape despite travel disruptions. Patnitop in Udhampur, Jammu and Kashmir received fresh snowfall of the season, attracting tourists eager to enjoy the winter scenery, with authorities advising caution on slippery roads. Srinagar's cold is gradually easing as the 40-day Chilai Kalan period nears its end, with minimum temperatures around freezing, while higher reaches remain below 0 degrees Celsius. Western Command, in strategic partnership with National Disaster Management Authority, hosted the Western Command Disaster Management Conclave on disaster risk resilience at the Chandi Mandir on Wednesday, highlighting India's move towards proactive disaster preparedness and resilience. Areas of southern Africa received years' worth of rainfall in just 10 days in January of 2026, leaving Mozambique, South Africa and Zimbabwe reeling from devastating floods intensified by climate change. Heavy floods swept through parts of Lusaka in Zambia on Wednesday, leaving roads submerged and residents wading through knee-deep water. No deaths or injuries were reported. Homes in the Sicilian town of Nesemi are teetering on the edge of cliff after landslide triggered by storms prompted evacuations and state of emergency in southern Italy. Storm Christine swept through the central and northern Portugal, killing at least 4 people, ousting power to over 850,000 homes and causing widespread damage to roads and infrastructure. Heavy rains and wind gusts of up to 150 kilometers per hour triggered more than 3,000 weather-related incidents, blocked highways and train lines, and prompted emergency responses across Portugal. A striking red long-tailed minivet has been sighted at Uttarakhand's Corbett National Park, thrilling bird watchers and highlighting the park's status as a biodiversity hotspot. Alongside the red male, yellow and green female minivet also are seen, adding to the variety of bird species in India's oldest tiger reserve in Uttarakhand. The Tavi Boat Festival began on Wednesday in Jammu City, inviting residents and tourists to enjoy boat rides along the newly developed riverfront, a long-awaited public space project. The visitors praised the Tavi Boat Festival, saying it will boost tourism and provide a scenic recreational spot for families and youngsters alike. As the Chinese New Year approaches, cities across China are bustling with festive markets, cultural fairs and traditional activities, blending heritage with contemporary celebrations to welcome the Year of the Horse. From Shanghai's Yuan Garden Lantern Festival to children's temple fairs and lakeside New Year markets, communities nationwide creatively celebrate the 15-day Spring Festival, blending traditional and modern artistry. A new video from China's panda capital, Chengdu, shows 2 giant panda cubs cuddling, climbing and engaging in playful tug-of-war as they grow up side by side at the Chengdu nursery. Born in 2025, the cubs are being raised together under a social enrichment program that encourages natural behaviors, delighting visitors and panda enthusiasts alike. The Tourism Authority of Thailand has officially launched global superstar Lisa Manobal as the Amazing Thailand Ambassador as part of major campaign to boost the country's tourism sector. The K-pop icon made a grand appearance at Bangkok's Watarun to unveil the Feel All the Feelings campaign, aiming to showcase Thailand's culture, people and scenic beauty to global audience. The final representative of the 680-year-old Ottoman-era Devda craft continues to keep the rare tradition of silk twisting alive in Turkey's northwestern province of Bursa. Nostalgia takes center stage at the Retro Mobile Show in Paris. Thousands of enthusiasts are descending on one of the most prestigious events on classic car calendar. Popular mass market models from the 1970s to 90s, known as Youngtimers, are attracting growing interest from collectors, drawn by affordability, hands-on mechanics and memories of youth. The California Post, a conservative tabloid from Rupert Murdoch's News Corp, launched this week as a West Coast counterpart to the New York Post, aiming to shake up the state's media landscape. The California Post paper features page 6 Hollywood coverage of local news and events and a bold front page story on police protest, with copies sold at about $3.75 and content also available online. Indian film director Aditya Dhar's period spy thriller Dhurandhar, starring Ranveer Singh, is set to premiere digitally on Friday, following historic 56-day box office run in India and worldwide. Australian stars Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi hit the red carpet in Los Angeles on Wednesday with the premiere of the film adaptation of The Wuthering Heights. Star-studded cast of the heist thriller Crime 101 walked the red carpet in London. Chris Hemsworth stars as a high-class thief pursued by Mark Ruffalo's detective, teaming up with Halle Berry as for a major robbery. American filmmaker Richard Linklater's Nouvelle Vague led the nominations for the 51st Caesar Awards on Wednesday, with 10 nods including Best Film and Best Director. Iranian director Jafar Panahi's political thriller It Was Just an Accident earned 2 Caesar nominations on Wednesday for Best Film and Best Original Screenplay. Britain's King Charles hosted the first film premiere at a royal palace on Wednesday, showing a documentary on his decades of environmental activism at Windsor Castle. Mattel debuted a new line of action figures for its upcoming live-action film Masters on the Universe on Thursday, ahead of the movie's April release. The Isley brothers were honored with star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame on Wednesday at 7051 Hollywood Boulevard in Los Angeles. The legendary soul group received recognition in the recording category. Singer Justin Bieber will perform at the Grammy Awards this weekend, his first since 2022, and is nominated for 4 awards, including Album of the Year for Swag. The album Loving Folk Songs by composer Nguyen Quang Long has been released, blending traditional Vietnamese folk melodies with contemporary arrangements and reflective lyrics. Let's turn to sports. New Zealand beat India by 50 runs in the 4th T20 to secure their first win in the ongoing 5-match T20 series. The series is now standing at 3-1. The 5th and final T20 will take place on Saturday in Thiruvananthapuram as India looks to end the series on a high ahead of the Men's T20 World Cup. The International Cricket Council has provisionally suspended US batter Aaron Jones for alleged fixing during the BIM10 League in Barbados back in 23-24. Ahead of the all-important T20 Women's World Cup 2026, Cricket Australia has named spinner Sophie Moliner as the team's all-format captain. Olympic bronze medalist Lavlina Borgohain will spearhead the 33-member Indian team at the Boxam International Tournament starting February 2nd. Among the notable absentees are 2-time world champion Nikhat Zareen and reigning world champions Meenakshi Huda and Jasmine Lamboria. In Australian Open, defending champion Jannik Sinner will face 24-time Grand Slam champion Novak Djokovic in a mouth-watering semi-final bout. The other semi-final will see world number 1 Carlos Alcaraz clash against third-ranked Alexander Zverev on Friday. The host committee for the 2026 FIFA World Cup unveiled a slate of community and fan engagement initiatives designed to boost the tournament's excitement across the city. Senegal coach Pape Thiaw has been banned for 5 Confederations of African football matches after a chaotic Africa Cup of Nations final against Morocco this month. Manchester City secured a top 8 finish in the Champions League after a 2-0 win against Galatasaray. Goalkeeper Antony Tribin scored a 98-minute header in Benfica to stun Real Madrid 4-2 to secure a place in the Champions League knockouts. Meanwhile, Napoli are out of the Champions League after 3-2 loss at home to Chelsea. Chelsea have also sealed a place in the last 16. In round 10 of Masters Chess Tournament, world champion D. Kukesh secured a clinical win against young prodigy Yagiskan Adegomas. And R. Pragnananda settled for a draw with Hans Mok Niemann, while Vincent Kema defeated India's top-rated player Arjun Erigaisi. With that, we conclude this edition of Express News. Namaskar.